For those of you who are part of DAC or part of Longevity, maybe you've come to learn about DAC Healthcare. I'm going to encourage you. This is not a complete training of all the features and benefits of DAC Healthcare. This is going to go through some highlights of what's working best right now. So the pro tips. It's also going to talk a little bit about our beliefs. I think when you have your beliefs built and the pro tips installed, you can then act. So that's what we want to accomplish in these 20 minutes tonight before we go to your questions. And so if you haven't gone through all the DAC healthcare training, you want to visit DAC Agent Resource Center, which is at the footer of your davidallencapital.com website, and watch the healthcare training. Okay, that's more inclusive of everything you need to know. But we're going to give you some highlights. What's the challenge right now when someone happens to need medical care? I mean, obviously we want to take care of ourselves with nutrition and exercise and all that and good mental health. But when you do need medical care, you trip and cut a leg or snap an ankle or something, hiking, whatever. What happens when you need medical care? Here's the challenge. Insurance premiums are going up. They're unaffordable. Deductibles are too high, $2,500, $5,000, $7,500, $12,000. Healthcare costs continue to skyrocket. Confusion is rampant. Nobody understands their program. And tens of millions are without coverage. So we have a better plan. We have a better solution. It's full liability, and it's a partially self-funded co-insurance healthcare plan. It's ERISA qualified and ACA, Affordable Care Act compliant, which is Obamacare, if you will. It gives you your minimal essential coverages, your physicals and pap smears and those type of things. And we have an individual plan, a family plan, and group plans with catastrophic coverage now available up to $500,000 in coverage. So we have various plans you can choose from, a basic minimum $7,500 in coverage with all your minimal essential coverages included and physicals all the way up to $500,000. It comes with dental, vision, and pharmacy. Do you know that 21 cents of every dollar Americans spend on healthcare is on pharmacy? 21% of all money, we want to make sure it had pharmacy. Your preventative checkups, minimal essential coverage is all included. And there's even 24-hour telemedicine and some great urgent care availability as well at a very low cost. So our alternative is called DAC Healthcare. You've got a website, dachealthcare.com/your ID number. It's typically a much lower rate monthly for the customer. There is no deductible, $1 coverage. There's no pre-existing condition exclusions for our basic plans. Our catastrophic coverage does have some pre-existing. There's no open enrollment constraints for business owners. You as an agent, you have an open enrollment constraint. You must join within your first 2 months of being an agent with DAC. If you've been an agent for more than 2 months, with Longevity or DAC, you can't join until open enrollment opens again. But businesses, can join at any time. It is the largest PPO network in North America, meaning you're getting good doctors in your area. It's called PHCS. There's no medical underwriting with catastrophic coverage. And so again, all you would do is visit dachealthcare.com/your ID number, and you can share that with customers. They can choose member or member plus one or member and family, okay? And they can add that catastrophic coverage as we talked about. Now, here's the best news of all. You don't have to be licensed. You don't have to be an expert. You want to learn the beliefs enough. You want to learn enough about the program that you can promote it to people, all right? Now, here's how our system works. You send someone to your website. They're going to go to the website. They can watch a video. They can learn more. They click, fill out a quote form. Do you know the quote is completely inclusive of everything they need to know? And they're going to get a quote, and you're going to get a copy of the quote as well because they're at your replicated website. You're going to have a copy of their quote, and they're going to get a copy of their quote. Now, it's your job to simply get on the telephone with your client and say, hey, have you got that quote? When's a good time that you can review that with our licensed experts or with our internal team experts? And you schedule a call with your client and our experts. Our experts do the conversation for you. They talk to your client and their employees. They get the different plans available. They answer the questions. Now, you're learning through all this, but they're taking the lead. Take some time. All the employees enroll in this, or some of the employees. You don't need to switch everyone. You know, many employers offer many different plans, and maybe a third of the customers will want to take your plan over Blue Cross, as an example. The whole company doesn't have to switch everybody, just give their employees the option. Then a membership package is sent to your client digitally, and then a physical one is sent to them after the first of the month. So that gives you a kind of an overview. We have these drop cards you can order from your agent resource center. These are postcard size cards. These are great leave behinds, and they've got information on the back that explains everything we just had, your 6 key points. Of course, your information would be on the bottom there. Now, that's all I wanted to talk about today, because again, we've got deep training elsewhere. We wanted to make sure we could get our experts on. So I'm going to stop sharing for a moment, and I'm going to go to our team to see if we've got our experts with us yet. I'm sure we do. I see Lou's here. Beautiful. We'll make Lou a co-host. Okay, beautiful. And let's see if we got Mr. Fardulis here. Okay, maybe Scott is, Morgan, if you can keep your eye out for Scott. I'm not seeing him here, but let me just look through here one moment. He may be on a telephone line or something. Okay, Morgan, if you could do me a favor, reach out to Scott. We want to make sure we get him on. He might be on another training or something. We just talked a little while ago. I want to make sure he's not on a telephone number, something that I'm not seeing his name. There's a lot of telephone numbers in here. But listen, we've got Lou Emanuelson here. Lou, I've already made you a co-host. If you could do me a favor and unmute yourself so we could have a little dialogue for a moment here. All right, you're unmuted. Great. How you doing, Lou?
Great. Thank you for having us.
Hey, thanks for being here. We really appreciate you guys creating this plan. You've been with SBA since day one, haven't you?
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Well, now you've done some actuarial work in your background, right? Which is helping to create the pricing on all these packages for insurance companies. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's entirely my career, how it started, learning how to, manipulate numbers, analyze them, and do all that kind of fun stuff. And then also do product creation. So done a fair amount of product development over that time.
Well, what I found interesting when we originally talked, Lou, and I think this is important for anyone who's an agent of ours who wants to market this, what I really was impressed with you guys, as you know, we were talking to several companies,
right.
But I was impressed with your background and how you really understand the insurance space. And knowing the insurance space, you knew what you had to create to compete in that space.
That's exactly right.
Why don't you take us on a little journey of how this even came to be and why you guys created it the way it is, and why we as agents who are inexperienced with the insurance space should be really excited to have this competitive advantage that we have.
Well, it is an interesting tale, but I'll keep it as short as possible. So David Jones, our founder of the SBA Co-op, collaborated initially with another gentleman named Edgar Smith. Edgar, David, and I then started working together. And what Edgar and David did was they created the SBA Co-op. And the Co-op is really an interesting corporate vehicle. It's a not-for-profit agency corporation. And we have the ability to bring employers' resources, dollars, if you will, and use those monies to co-create and co-share the risk, much like what an insurance company would do. And so without filing for, any sort of insurance company regulations at a state level, and we created the Freedom Plan, the Freedom Protect Plan, to be one that is subject to ERISA, which is, as you mentioned, the federal regulations that allows us to do all of this.
In every state, right? We can market
every state. Yeah. So we have complete continuity across all state lines. We're not subject to any state department regulations. And so what that means is, we created 3 plans, and we can market the same 3 plans across all state lines. Whereas if you're subject to insurance regulations, that means you're subject to all 50 state Department of Insurance regulations. So you could literally have 50 different plans as opposed to 1. So that's what makes it real special when you're talking about employers with employees spread all over the country. That means, I don't have to have 50 communications. I just have 1 communication. So that's a real plus of being the kind of plan that we're structured to being.
And what did you feel? Why did you guys feel there was a need to create this when insurance already existed?
Well, the biggest thing was affordability. What we found is, there's still 30, maybe 40 million Americans out there, and probably growing because of today's economy. And what we found is that, affordability is a big issue. And then we started putting together, a little bit of statistics, and that is knowing that, the average American spends less than $8,000 a year in healthcare expenses. And so that kind of gets down to the need. Does somebody really need a plan that has millions, if not unlimited, annual and lifetime maximums? Because what you know to be true in the whole insurance risk is that everybody pays for a few. And by that, I mean probably 6% of the population are creating about 75% of the total healthcare expense in the country. And those are people who are, unfortunately in need, and having very, very large catastrophic claims, whether they be diseases or whether they be accidents, any of those kinds of items, or even just on chronic medications and other kinds of high expensive care. So knowing that we had a strong representation of population in the country that didn't need that amount of coverage, we said, let's let them buy the amount of coverage that they can afford and what they want and what they need for their families. And we want to do something else. We don't want to make it, useless by putting high deductibles in it. We said first dollar benefits. And by first dollar benefits, it means the plan is participating in paying a portion of your care as you are paying a portion of it. So that was, something that was very unique. So we allow people to buy as much coverage as they need, whether it be 10,000, 20,000, 45,000, plus buy catastrophic coverage on top of that if they feel they're at risk, in which case then they can buy another 150, 250, or 500,000. So it really creates a very strong holistic package for, average Americans.
Love it. And you're talking to a lot of our clients. So if I were to submit a client to my website, I'm not an expert, but I've learned the 6 points that make us, lower monthly costs,
Yep.
No deductible, $1 coverage, no pre-existing exclusions, RX plan, ACA compliant, ERISA compliant. And
Yep.
even one I didn't mention yet, when an employer is paying for this service every month, they're building a claims fund. And as that claims fund builds up, it covers the claims. But if some of that doesn't get used, it gets refunded to the employer.
That's
that
correct.
Doesn't exist in insurance, does it?
Well, it does, but not in a very efficient model like ours. So, a lot of, these types of plans that are available have certain restrictions in them. One is they all have to be medically underwritten. And by medical underwriting, that means that each member employee participant will have to fill out a risk medical questionnaire and provide 2-3 years of medical history. The second thing is they may require some sort of data documentation to validate that there's, the health that exists as people so claim on their risk questionnaires. And the other thing is they oftentimes have size limits. So there may be one company out there right now that might allow an employer of 5 lives or more to have that kind of a program. But for the most part, they've ratcheted that up. And now that you'll see a common threshold of 25 lives or more. And then when they do, find that carrier or insurance company that will do it, the rates are high, there's high deductibles. And again, they got to go through all that medical underwriting process. And it just makes it a real, treacherous road before they finally secure their coverage. We're guaranteed issue, no medical underwriting, and we go down to 2 lives.
And I think one of the cool things, one of my concerns, knowing that there's a pool of funds, is what if that gets used and now you need more coverage?
Right.
You guys have reinsurance on everybody. So no matter what, a customer is going to be covered, even if it's going above what they've collected in monthly claim or monthly membership costs, correct?
That is correct. So, not only when an employer pays their monthly funding costs, they're paying really 2 things. They're paying a fixed cost, which goes towards administration of the plan, leasing the network, paying the PBM, as well as paying for the stop loss coverage, the reinsurance. And then you've got the second component, which goes into their current claim account. So those are the dollars that are day one available to that employer employee for any sort of utilization. And what we do is, if they are brand new to the plan and they've only paid 1 month, we don't limit the total claims payment to just that 1 month of accumulated claim funding. We pre-fund all 12 months, which is what we're obligated to do.
Wow.
So consequently, that makes it a really good value for, employers.
Amen. Absolutely, it does. I just got a text from Scott. He's having struggles getting in, but he's going to continue to try.
Okay.
He's having some internet connection issues, but so he may be joining us. But one of the things we talked about today, and I'm going to move over to something I wrote on the whiteboard from our conversation earlier. David Jones, who, as you identified earlier, is one of the founders of the company. He's been selling insurance for, 30 years? Did I remember that right?
Even longer than me.
Even longer than 30. And he gave us these points today. So I want to show them to everybody. Okay, I'm going to scroll. Sorry, forgive my little mess here. This is actually my little conference room area. But he gave these points. Can you see those okay?
Yes.
He talked about what people are doing right now, having success, making calls. And he says, he starts out, here's the bullets. I just want to introduce myself real quickly. Is it a good time that we could have a couple-minute conversation? Because I have a medical plan that is eliminating some major employee and employer costs. And I guarantee you have not heard of this before. So when could we schedule a quick 10-minute discussion where I could gather more information about your employee group and we could create a custom tailor-made quote for you? Is that what he said today? Pretty much?
Yes.
Did I get the notes right?
Yes.
When he said that, I said, could it get any easier than that? If anyone's in our business capital, we've got a simple 6 bullet points that we say on how to approach someone for funding and look at this simple way. So I'm going to leave that on the screen there for a moment. Is there anything you would want to add to that, Lou? Because you're talking to all of our clients. You know what their objections are. You know what their fears are. You know their concerns about coverage or no coverage and enrollments and open enrollments. Is there anything else you could share that you could give our agents to give them comfort as a pro tip of how to open that door? Even, by the way, you could email this to folks. You could email this to people And Scott Fardulis did a real good training on our last call. It's stored in our Agent Resource Center on how to approach someone who's a friend of yours and say, what do you do for healthcare? And that opens the door. Are you happy with your provider? That opens the door. And they don't even have to own the company. They could get you in with their personnel department to discuss options to save that company some major costs. Anything you want to add to this, Lou?
So what I would add to that is, and I've seen some really great distributors walk into a business literally just cold, buying a cup of coffee or ordering a sandwich, and literally asking that number 3 bullet point and saying, do you have a medical plan that you offer to your employees? That's a big one right there. And then what that does is, you might be talking to the cashier. You might be talking to the guy who gives you your cup of coffee. And then you say, may I talk to your manager? May I talk to the owner? And then when you get that far, you can say to them, would you like to save 35, 40% over what you're presently paying if you have a plan? And would you like to have first dollar benefits, no high dollar deductibles? It's a little bit more information, but it's the kind of thing that's going to catch them. And that's what you want to do. You want to hook them, right? Get their interest and say, this is why you want to talk to me further.
So do you have a medical plan? May I talk to your owner who's in response for that? Would you like to save 35 to 40%? And there was one more you said. Maybe you didn't. Maybe I got it all.
Yeah. I think that, first dollar benefits.
There you go.
Would you like to have first dollar benefits instead of a high deductible plan?
Perfect. And so those are adding a little more meat to these bones.
Yep.
And folks, we say it wrong enough, long enough until it gets comfortable to say it right. And this isn't rocket science here, right, folks? This isn't tough.
Yep.
It's really just caring. And I think the most important thing is, for me, and we're going to go to your questions in a minute, 30 million Americans don't have health care. tens of millions just got laid off and they're on Cobra and they don't know if they're going to stick with their Cobra plan or what they're going to do. That just means their employer's offering them the health care while they're no longer working there, but they got to pay it themselves.
Yep.
Most family plans, the average family plan is $1,700 a month and has a $7,000 deductible. That's the average in North America. $1,700 a month and $7,000 deductible. You could get our catastrophic plan in your 50s, the highest catastrophic plan, the best coverage we have for your family. You're under $1,000 a month with $1 coverage. $1,700 a month, $7,000 deductible, under $1,000, $500K coverage, $1 coverage, no deductible.
Exactly.
When you know this, how could you keep this to yourself? So get comfortable. If you're not comfortable speaking it yet, get comfortable emailing someone and just start the conversation. Lou's going to take over. Lou, I know for a fact, Lou is talking to one of our agents. I'm not going to say the company, but one of our agents put Lou in touch with a national, I would say it's an international company. Can you see how many employees they have?
Oh, well, I know that the one that we're talking to tomorrow morning is over 30,000 employees.
Okay. And then there's the one that Ellen referred you to.
I don't want to say that one. Well, that's 200-some thousand employees.
200-something.
Yeah.
But the point is,
yep.
Lou can speak to anyone of any size because this is what they do. And like he said, these businesses have to worry about every state unless they have a plan that can be sold in every state. So let's go to your questions now, folks. Is there anything else you'd want to share, Lou, on a pro tip on how to approach customers to get
I know.
set up for you?
Yeah, just so you know, Scott's now on the call, so he can participate. Scott has some great personal interest stories. Today he connected us with, a really tremendous opportunity, and we had a very long conversation. We're getting, the advantage of bringing us in with you is you don't have to know all of the technical information. We can go toe to toe with their best consultants and their most experienced executives in talking about these plans. So I really encourage you, bring us in. I'm happy to give everybody on this call my personal cell number and feel free to call me anytime.
Wonderful. We did make Lou, Scott, we made a co-host, Lou. So Scott, if you can unmute yourself. I see you are. I know you weren't here for a lot of this. Sorry that you had trouble getting in, but thank you for staying persistent and getting in. Lou knocked the cover off the ball as he always does. And I'm more excited to talk to some clients. He added some things to the notes we talked about today, which added some meat to the bones. And I did mention the conversation you gave on the last training of what do you do for healthcare and how that opens up, and told them where to go for training. But why don't you share with everybody here, who's on the phone. We've got 100 plus agents here looking for some pro tips on how to open that door and set the table for Lou and team. So what do you got for us, Scott?
Well, first of all, David, it's always great to be here. And I love seeing all these faces from around the great nation here that are tuned in. We're fortunate to have Lou. I was on a call today with Lou, and he was talking to a big broker, a big insurance agent broker. And they were like, oh my gosh, you're an actuary? By the way, folks, the term actuary is a very rare term in this industry, and not everybody has that title. And Lou Emanuelson has that title, and to have access to him, to have his confidence, his knowledge, his insight, his wisdom through training, please don't take that lightly. I mean, the topics he's sharing right now are worth a lot of money, because people would have to go through a tremendous learning curve of figuring out what works and doesn't work. So when I see all those notes on the board over Mr. Rutz's shoulder, that is like money right there.
Gold.
And it is total gold. And I think the biggest thing that we all have to overcome is the fear of just picking up the phone. Did you already talk about this, David? The fear of just,
go ahead. Your perspective would be magical. So please.
You all know what to do. I mean, how many trainings does it take? How many reminders does it take? I mean, if you just took a snapshot of that whiteboard over David's shoulder right there and just put the notes in front of you, you really can't screw this up. And you got to keep telling yourself the person who you're talking to wants you to be right. They want you to be telling them the truth. They're hoping that you're for real. They're wishing that somebody would have come along years ago to reveal this information. So, I mean, you're delivering like a drop the mic scenario when you pick up the phone and call people and ask these questions in an interview format. That's how real this is. I mean, today we're on the phone with a big private corporate jet company that's stationed in 220 locations around the nation, and they've got thousands of employees. And they're so excited to add us to, and by the way, this came through a DAC representative agent. A DAC person brought this relationship to our attention. So this is a DAC deal. And I'm pretty certain it's gonna happen. And they're the Titanic. It's gonna take some time to put it into motion, but they're big and it's awesome. And compared to what they have right now, we blow them out of the water. There really isn't a comparison, which is what I love about our quoting system, is once you really get that science in front of them, there's really no comparison except the aha moment of, wow, this is a significant difference. And then they get to use their brain cells to make that transition. So please start picking up the phone. I'm convinced personally. And David Rutz and I are actually co-joining our efforts and our talents and our knowledge of this topic, and we are going to deliver the most knock your socks off breakout session around the healthcare services through DAC at the convention coming up. Some of you are going to participate in that, I would presume, but if you get anything, attend our session, because we're going to bring you a look, an appeal, a dynamic, a presentation, a format, and a delivery system that you haven't even seen yet. And we're gonna deliver that to you coming up here in just a few weeks at the convention. Was it okay to mention all that, David?
Please, absolutely.
Okay. So attend that, please, because I'm just gonna tell you right now, if you do this, I was just having a private conversation before coming on to this. I was just talking to two very talented people that I believe are going to take what we're doing and they're gonna go make 6 figures a month. Okay, that's not an income claim. That's my belief about their talent personally, not an income claim, about what they're capable of doing and the blocks they've run around. I think they're gonna make 6 figures a month doing what we do. Why? Because these numbers make sense. We've shown you that when you go and put this to your daily modus operandi, your MO, when you go out and work this, the numbers start adding up really quickly. You understand that you're averaging $15 a life. He's writing the numbers on the board, but you're averaging $15 a life. And the whole world is out there filled with businesses and employers that have employees, with people that want to save money and have higher value. They're just waiting for us to be revealed to them. And I think after we do our training session at this convention coming up, you're going to see how whatever you're earning right now, if you're earning a great income, you're going to increase your monthly income in a very short period of time by, in my opinion, 25 to 100%. Your income is going to go up just like that by working the system the way that we put. Again, I know we're recorded. This is not an income claim. It's my common sense and my logic looking at the numbers that David just wrote on the board and saying who's willing to go out and have the conversation and make the calls and ask the questions that you've just been revealed. If you'll go do that, the numbers are there. And I think you're going to have the most stable income you've ever had in your life. I think you're going to have the most predictable residual you could ever imagine. I don't think there's a better buck to be earned anywhere in sales beyond this topic right now. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it.
Love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. Well, you can hear we're excited, guys. We talk all the time. We're going to go to questions. We're going to take 5 minutes of questions. That's all we've got today, because we do have a 9 p.m. Eastern BizOp meeting. We'll pay maybe 10 minutes, but we want to be out so guests don't join in. But keep in mind, folks, one of the reasons you got in business was to create an income producing asset, a business that you own that makes you money whether you're working it or not. You did not sign up for a job. You signed up for a business. You have to work a business like a job. When you first get started, you got to make it happen, right? It's like priming a pump at the farm. But once it's built, you want it to keep fueling you and be a cash cow. That is an income producing asset. There is no easier way in existence in the home-based business industry that I'm aware of than you creating your own income producing asset via a business customer base, where you don't have to depend on your team to get you there, but you can build a team that gets you there. So be an example, help some business owners, help some employees, build your team. What if you just had 100 customers? Not an income claim, just a little mathematics. If you have 10 employee average and you're going to make about $2,000 a year per business, if you have 100 companies times 2,000, that's 200,000 a year residually. You should never expect to make that. Put a big claim up, you probably never will, but someone can, everyone can. And the bottom line is, will you get good enough talking about this? Will you say it wrong enough, long enough? Will you get uncomfortable enough to get it right and start handing Lou and Scott and Dave and the SBA team your conversations with your clients so that you can build this income producing asset right here called the customer base? And this baby right here kicks off hundreds or thousands every year to you. Just like a $2 million investment portfolio. Maybe you didn't set up your 401k early enough. Maybe you haven't earned enough to set yourself up. Quit making excuses. Get comfortable making calls. You don't need thousands of customers. You need hundreds, and you're making monies like you have millions put in the bank. And you don't have to deduct it out to live. It's going to pay you month after month after month after month after month after month. That's why we're excited about this. So let's go to your questions. Brian's got his hand up. Brian, I'm going to unmute you. You're the first person to get to ask a question. What have you got for us tonight, Brian Powell?
Hey, Lou. Hey, Scott. Got a question for y'all. For the quotes that you provide, how is it broken up between employer and employee?
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. Not sure exactly what you mean, Brian, but when we do a proposal, and you can do this yourself, and you'll receive it within 1 minute. It'll come into your inbox. What you're going to see is you're going to see the total cost of the plan, right? The total cost is the combined monthly cost, which is the fixed cost plus the claim funding account cost, times the number of people in all of the respective categories. So there's an age category, and then there's a dependent participation category. But dependent participation, meaning you've got single employees, then you got employees plus one, and then you got an employee plus two or more. So what you're going to get is you're going to get an aggregated monthly cost and annual cost based on the easy mathematics of calculating what that is. And then you're also going to see available to you the annual cost of what the catastrophic plan would cost, based on which, the selection, and again, based on age as well as dependent coverage. So that's what you're going to see. I invite you, plus all the benefits, and you're even going to see a really slick bar graph in there that kind of shows you graphically what the plan covers, how much it covers, how much the member employee pays versus what the plan pays. So it's really kind of a really great tool to show your prospect.
Thank you, Brian, for that. Thank you, Lou. And one quick thing, in case there's a confusion, the employer does pay for it all. They can deduct it from their employee's check, but we don't collect payments from the employees directly. SBA does not. They collect from the employer group, and then the employer would then be responsible for deducting that from their employees if they want to. If you're with DAC or Longevity, you can sign up to this plan as an individual during open enrollment period, which will again start here in another couple months. But if you're brand new to DAC or Longevity, meaning you joined in July, you can get on the plan this month. And as of next month, though, you can't. You'd have to have joined in August. You can only join the month you can only get on this plan the month you join or the following month. That's it. You got to join by the 25th of the month preceding or following your join day. So get involved. If you're not in this, you're not having coverage. Scott Fardulis learned of this plan by putting he and his family on it. And so I encourage all of you to get on it as well. If you got a question, go ahead. We'll take one more. Raise your hand there. And while we're waiting for that, Scott, you got any parting points for all of our 100+ people that are watching right now?
You know what? I would love to ask this question of everybody by a show of hands, and hold your hands up high. If you really mean it, raise your hand. If you don't, you can recuse yourself. But how many of you are finding this training session extremely helpful, encouraging, valuable, filled with tips and information that you can readily go out and apply? Like, you're not wasting your time like you really believe that you're getting fed and you're getting value. Hold your hands up high and keep them up, because I want to scroll through these pages of people with their cameras on. So many people have their cameras off. But those of you that do, thank you for the feedback, because that gives us good feedback. We want to know that when we're coming to these calls, that we're arming you and empowering you and feeding you with things that you really need and can use so that you can go out and be effective. Okay, I just wanted to see that. Thank you. Okay.
We got the Matster here. Lou, I'm going to let you go last. We got the Matster on here. He's leading the charge for winning the healthcare tournament. We got Ellen on here, who's got one of the largest companies submitted. All kinds of good things happening today. But Lou, I'm going to give you the final words before we start transitioning into our 9 p.m. business opportunity presentation.
Well, all I'm going to say to you is again, don't be chicken, don't be shy. You know, get out there, get in front of people, ask the question, you know, and by the way, you don't have to ask them necessarily straight up for their business. Just ask them if they know somebody and if they would help you with a warm introduction. So never be too bashful, because what's the worst thing they can say? No, right? And then, as my old boss used to say, get over it, go get another one. That's what I want to encourage you to do.
Thank you, Lou. Scott?
Yep.
Any parting final points?
I just want you to know how impressive you all are. Thanks for showing up in a big way. Thanks for being part of the DAC movement. Thanks for embracing the DAC healthcare program and plans. We're counting on you. We expect all of you to be able to transform your lives and to be the superstars you've always wanted to be. And just know this, you are not alone. You have access to David Rutz. You have access to Lou Emanuelson, and you have access to me. That should give you everything you need to absolutely receive certain and predictable victory. Have a great night.
And I would only say this, guys. Employers out there are going to learn about this plan one time. They've not heard of it yet. David Jones said, I don't mind them saying, I guarantee you've not heard of this yet, because they 99.999% haven't. 2 years from now, they will not be the case. You don't want someone in your backyard to get SBA Freedom Protect, not through you, when you knew about it first.
That's right.
Don't sit on your hands. Get comfortable being uncomfortable if you are. But more importantly, change the mindset. Look how much people are overpaying and being underinsured and not going to the doctor because they got an expensive deductible. They're making decisions with their health that they wouldn't make if they had our coverage. And not only that, there's millions who don't have coverage. You've got a solution. You've got the life raft. Do not let it sit in your garage. Go to the river where they're all out there and hand out life jackets. It's a lot more fun wearing a life jacket than it is without. You've got the life jacket. Get after it. We appreciate it.
One more thing, David. One more thing, David. One more thing, real quickly, if I could. Hey, guys, here is a niche that you're going to want to put on your radar screen. Listen very, very carefully. This niche right here, it's a big one. Don't underestimate this. There are hundreds of thousands of lives that you could be impacted if you're willing to go to this niche. Go to your church, go to your pastor, go to all of the religious organizations, because many of them are using Christian share plans or MetaShare, and those will not touch a candle to this. You can convert those organizations very, very quickly, and that is a smart place to go. So just wanted to plant that seed with everybody.
Serving clients, being giants. God bless you all.